Coming up on today's show, we talk about all things Disney. We're going to fill in some news gaps, and then we have some random topics created by AI, some hot takes, and all this and more that is coming up today on Traveling with the Mouse. Welcome, everyone, to episode number 487 of Traveling with the Mouse. I am your host this week. My name is John. I am joined, as always, by my faithful co-host, Adam.
What's up, everybody? I'm here.
All right, Adam, how did you enjoy daylight savings time? Did you save a bunch of daylight?
I lost a lot of sleep. That's about it.
You know, here in the great state of Georgia, we had the opportunity to no longer have to change time, but we chose to choose daylight savings time, one that we cannot go on unless the bill or motion or whatever you want to call it ever comes before Congress and is passed. And it's probably never going to happen. If it does, it's going to be many years from now. So we're just going to be stuck doing this.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Doesn't that sound right?
I'm used to it by now.
All right. Yeah, but I would have rather have stayed on standard time personally, now that I think about it, when it's all said and done. So anyway, let's at least cover some of the things that we, a few choice cuts, we'll say, out of the media.
Some lean stories that we're going to talk about.
Some lean stories, yeah, I guess you could say that. From the past week or so.
All right.
That have come about. There's actually been a good bit of news revolving around Epic Universe this past week, or in recent days, I guess, just because it's getting a bit closer.
Yeah.
To the opening.
Yeah.
So
everybody's excited about the Monsters Dark Universe.
Yes, that's part of it.
I know everybody's flipping out about that one.
I'm actually excited for this park too, though.
Have you planned your trip yet?
Oh yeah, I remember I did schedule one. I actually scheduled one that I'm going to have to reschedule. I'll schedule one not long after they dropped.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, early June or something.
Yeah, something like that. It wasn't that early, but it was. Yeah. So I'm going to aim for maybe fall break, perhaps around.
Let the dust settle a little bit on it.
Something like that. So anyway, out of that though, I know this is kind of universal news, but Epic Universe has been added to the Orlando app. That's how close we are. It's actually been added.
Right.
You can see the map.
No, that's like what Disney does whenever something finally changes. It turns from like a grassy knoll to, a whole park showed up,
Disney hasn't done that.
Well, as far as like Epcot, say, for example, it was just like, it's just grass. And now it's like, the whole garden's opened up,
It's like amazing.
Yeah, just popped up overnight.
So also with this, though, we could discuss this part. I mean, I know we're a Disney podcast, but it is at all forms of travel. So Universal can count as another form of travel, can it not? Sure. We used to call it as like the park we don't name or something like that, like it's Harry Potter, like it's Voldemort.
Right.
The park we shall not name.
If you say it 3 times, like, I'll get struck by lightning is what I'm afraid of.
You afraid you get struck by lightning for being a hypocrite or something?
No, because my hatred for Comcast has...
okay. Has it subsided or has it grown?
Well, it's a good question. I guess it's sort of stayed the same. I don't know.
It's about the same. It hasn't grown. It's about your level of hatred is on an even kill.
If anybody dealt with Comcast internet or support or lack thereof, they know what I'm talking about.
I tell you, I never say never about anybody, but since you brought this situation up, somebody who I think I'm probably never going to use is Spectrum.
Yeah, I've always heard that too.
And the reason why, not only do my in-laws have it down there and I'm not that impressed with it, I don't like their techniques of how they go about with their sales techniques. They're a bit aggressive and sneaky at times. I mean,
Not cool.
in my neighborhood, because they've only been out here like a year, maybe 2, they're constantly, like, sending people out here. I may have mentioned this on here before, actually, now that I think about it, but I'm gonna do it again because 'cause it's been a while. The very
Mhm.
first time somebody came out here, they showed me how great of a deal or everything they have on this stuff, and I was like, "Well, just send me some information on this stuff, and then, let
Right,
me look
right.
at it, something more solid," you know?
And
Well, apparently the lady, like, took that as, "I'm scheduling you for installation," because I got a call not long after that about my installation. I was like, "I didn't ask for installation. All I did was ask for more information about what you were offering."
Yeah.
And I've had this 2 different times now, actually, that it's almost that they've tried to get me to install it, and I
Yeah,
didn't actually ask for it to be installed.
right.
So I don't like
Me
that technique or tactic. So if
yeah,
the principle alone, I do not want to choose them. So unless I'm ever faced with a situation where I live somewhere where only they exist, that's about the only way I'm using them
right.
at this
Yeah.
point.
What is that tactic? It's, we're just gonna show up to your house
Yeah,
and
it's like we're
think
gonna force you to take this.
right. "Well, you're here, I guess might as well, go ahead, you made the trip."
Uh,
Like,
right? Yeah, I'm
"Don't
trying to
wanna
figure that out. It's
inconvenience you."
like I'm gonna let them go ahead because I
Right.
mean,
I
sure.
mean, I guess it works with some people. There's like, because some people just don't wanna ruffle any feathers.
I mean, somewhat. It probably does sometimes. Yeah.
It probably works on somebody, but still.
But the other thing that gets me about them is because I've heard other people talk about this, like they'll actually introduce you with something amazingly low, like I don't know, $30 a month for like 1,000 gigs or something.
Mhm.
But eventually it's $130 a month, at some
Right.
point. So
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. Oh, that's what Comcast did. It was always like, "Oh, for 24 months or whatever, it'll be this," and then it, like, triples in price after that or something.
yeah.
And they never tell you that, and then all of a sudden your bill's, like, triple.
I have
Um,
been satisfied with AT&T ever since they sent fiber out my way, so I don't think I need
yeah,
to rock that boat. So
that's what I have too, fiber. I barely had any issues with AT&T fiber, so,
right. Theirs is really good. And of
yeah.
course, Spectrum tried to play that trick where they try to convince me about the speed test thing. And I'm like, I have my own speed test here that I can run.
Yeah, exactly, it's very easy to do, but
Yeah.
anyway,
But anyway,
that was a
I don't know.
rant.
That was a detour. And
Speaking of Dark Universe,
You started it with Comcast. No,
right,
I was talking about the Epic universe, not the Dark universe, the Epic
well,
universe.
the Dark Universe is Comcast support, so that's why I'm afraid to go to this land because 'cause I'm gonna be like I says people like, "Do you wanna sign up for Comcast? Like, do you wanna sign up for
The
Comcast?"
Dark
Like,
universe.
that's my Dark Universe,
Um,
with them, yes.
Epic
Could be.
universe is what I'm trying
Alright,
to
sorry,
say.
go ahead.
So apparently, one of the things you can find in the app now is which rides are going to have single rider available
Okay,
at the opening. As a matter of fact, that's just kind of
fun.
interesting because Disney they haven't had a whole park released yet, but when they release a new ride, you don't usually see single rider right out the gate, right? I mean, not that I recall. Not that I recall.
Yes, and sometimes they just play around with, like, single
Different the
rider, like,
ways,
do we
yeah.
yeah. Like, "Oh, we'll do it for this," and then, then they take it away, so
So anyway, Super Nintendo World. Out of the 3 attractions that are going to open, you have Mario Kart is one, and so is Minecart, man. This Yoshi Yoshi is not, but Yoshi is basically their version of, like, People Mover. It's a little like to me.
yeah.
But
Honestly,
it looked kinda
too
neat, but,
yeah, the
I'll
Donkey
do it.
Kong yeah, the coaster looks cool. It's a really cool concept too of, like, the track is below you and you don't the fake track is above you, and it looks like you're on the fake track.
Yeah.
It's a cool concept for a coaster,
Some of these
and
attractions I haven't seen much of, by the way, so
yeah, I that's the one I would wanna do, of course. The Mario Kart one, honestly, I wasn't that impressed with it. The videos I've seen from Japan or from California.
Oh, I thought that was
So,
cool.
I didn't look that exciting to me, but
Oh,
maybe I'm
okay.
wrong. But
So in Dark Universe, we have Curse of the Werewolf will have it, and Monsters Unchained, the Frankenstein experience will also have it.
nice. I
So
trying to remember which one had the animatronics that were really impressive, or they both do?
I think they both do actually, from what I've
Okay.
seen.
'Cause it
So they
definitely
both,
look cool.
yeah.
Definitely look cool. A lot of
And,
people are gonna like that.
of course, it has a Harry Potter land, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic.
Right.
Harry Potter and the Battle at the Ministry, the only attraction I think over there, right? That's an e-ticket, at least anyway, is going to have it.
Yep.
The How to Train Your Dragon Isle, Dragon Racers Rally, no. Fire Drill, no. Hiccups Wing Gliders, yes. Which I don't know a whole lot about those attractions yet. I don't know what those are. I'm assuming the Wing Gliders is probably the more attractive one. Is the reason why they put single rider in it, right? So
Yeah.
probably coaster related or something along those lines.
Probably.
Celestial Park will have the Constellation Carousel. Obviously, that's a no. And Stardust Racers will. So they actually have quite a few things that are going to use single rider. I think this is a nice strategy, and I think Disney is probably going to actually adopt this more in the future because they do have some things that they do. They put
More
single rider
adults.
in now, but it helps with capacity, honestly,
Mhm.
when you
Filling out.
introduce single rider. Yes.
Yeah. Don't leave any empty seats on anything, fill
Because it
everything
seems
up.
like nowadays that nobody ever makes, like, say, for example, a Pirates where you can put how many people is that per hour? I mean, just a bunch.
Yeah, it's like 3,500 or
Yeah, it's like a
something like
ton.
that.
Nobody
Or
builds
yeah,
those type of attractions anymore.
right, those massive
So
people
you
eaters,
gotta,
yeah.
yeah, so you gotta put the, you know, when you build these, you gotta try to move people through as efficiently as possible, at least anyway. So
I wonder if Merc Universe is the reason why Disney decided to greenlight the Villains Land finally, because the Villains Land was rumored and talked about for so long. Our fans had wanted it for so long. And
true.
this makes me wonder if, like, oh, maybe, especially the hype around Dark Universe, I think is probably, aside from Nintendo, is the most talked about.
I think a lot of these attractions they're doing now is probably in response to almost knee jerkish in a way.
Maybe. But yeah, it makes me wonder if the Villains Land is what makes, is kind of a response to that. Almost
Yeah.
like how Harry Potter, like Avatar was, the whole Pandora land was basically the
The
answer
answer.
to,
Well, you could say that, or you could say Galaxy's Edge because they were around the
yeah.
same time frame. Not
Yeah.
long
Well,
after.
I
We're a
mean,
couple of years apart, right? I mean, wasn't Pandora 17? Harry Potter
yeah,
started in like 11,
right.
10 or 11.
Well, that's why it took Disney's a long time to start developing more lands. But
Well, yeah, but
yeah,
see,
I just
you would
wonder.
say some of that there seems like it's mismatched, right? Okay, so Wizarding World is released. The next thing Disney releases is New Fantasyland with Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. You'd think that's kind of the one that was released around the same time, right?
Yeah, maybe.
I think though in that era that even though they tried, Disney did actually try to compete in the sense that, oh, you've got this theme land, we're going to get this property, this theme land.
Right.
I
I
don't
felt like
think
that's
that.
why they bought Avatar's rights or whatever, because it
Yeah,
wasn't Disney property.
yeah, but I
'Cause
don't think the
it's like
general.
Universal didn't own Harry Potter.
Right, right. It's Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
But I think there was almost an imaginary feud going on then, and now the public, now in this day and age, now like nobody cared back then. Nobody saw it that way. In
Yeah.
retrospect, we see it that way. But the
Yeah,
average
yeah.
person, nobody cared. Nobody thought of it that way. I just thought, "Hey,
Not
we're
at the
getting cool
time.
stuff." Yeah,
Right.
and,
Yeah.
I think as the public perception has grown, now we see these things. Now it's like, "Oh," it's like a boxing match, like, here's a blow from them, and now we're gonna,
Right, right,
a blow from the other side, you know?
right. Back
So
and forth. But as many point out, I mean, we're the winners in all this because we get to, it helps
yes,
spur on
yeah.
development.
Well, in some ways, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. You get new stuff, but you also get new prices.
Yeah,
So
that too. Right. Yeah. Prices continue to rise. It's the
right.
only
So
guarantee there. Oh, well.
Let's see, just to kind of do a couple of news stories. Nothing particularly interesting openings, closings, as far as like water parks like Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon. They're doing their usual thing, right? One's opening, one's closing type deal for a brief time period. And then, of course, during the summer, they're usually both open. The Walt Disney World mobile cast compliments reached a milestone. They surpassed 2 million mobile cast compliments. So that's pretty good because they've only had that
Mm,
open how long now did they do the cast compliments?
gosh, it was a couple of years ago because I started doing it,
Yeah,
and
it was I'm gonna say it was 2021. Yeah, actually. The
yeah,
feature launched in
3 years
October of
ago.
2021. It was a Chapek thing.
Ugh, right. The only so I wa so to talk
You're
about
like,
that,
"Ugh."
I
Anyway, keep
wish
going.
they gave you at least 500 characters of you could type your own, because
Right.
basically you just pick a you can type in the person's name, where they're from, if you can remember from their name tag, and where they worked, and they sort of just figure out who it is based on that, and then you'll be like you can choose from several different, um, options, like made my day better, or they were nice to my kids, or they were, extra nice. I don't know, whatever the options are.
Yeah.
I wish you could add like a custom comment because, back when you used to do it on Twitter, when it was Twitter, you could write your own message and say this cast member they did whatever. I think it's missing that. Don't you? I mean, I feel like the personal messages would be
Yeah, it'd be nice if you had at least a limited character experience, I don't mean characters like Disney
right.
characters. I mean a
500
limited number of
characters.
characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's optional. You don't have to, but I feel like most people would if something made them
Keep it
go and say, I
brief.
need to, yeah. But at least like, hey, they were great. They did
Mhm.
something specific versus like they brightened my day. It's like, okay, but what if, I want to add more than that. I actually did that with one where I went to guest experience, and the guy wrote it down on an index card because
Wow.
I was specific. He was like, oh, you can just use the app. I'm like, I want more than that. I want to do more than that.
I want to be able to
So
say more for this
right.
person because he did so great.
Yes. I was very specific, and he was like, okay, well, and he grabbed it, he wrote it down. He's like, I will hand this to the manager of the people, whatever it is, people manager,
Yeah, he was like, "Yeah,
frontline
I'll
manager.
hand this to the manager. I'll file it right here."
Yeah, exactly. Right in this trash can. Here's the compliment department. Anyway,
I mean, he could have done anything to just get you on
it's
your way.
possible, but I'd like to think because it's Disney that
You have
he
faith that
hand
he was
delivered it to,
like, you
yes,
want to believe
yes,
that the
with two white
magic.
doves flying as he handed it to the cast member. But anyway, that would that would be what I pictured
Uh,
in my head. But anyway,
uh,
how do we
hey,
get on
well,
that? I don't know.
perception is reality. So if
Right.
you believe that that's what happened, then
Oh yeah. With 2 million,
uh,
that's great. It is a good
it
feature. They
really
just need
is.
to
It
add
it
to it.
is. Yeah. Well, I think most people though they like to give someone a kudos, but they don't really like to go on very long most of the time. To be
Yeah.
honest, that's probably why they don't do that. So
250 characters, 300, whatever, 500.
as
Make it
as
short, but
we've I mean, think about it. How many times do you just see something like a Facebook post and someone's written like a novel of a post that you actually read the entire
ugh,
post?
every time I see that and they're like, please read to the end, like it's worth it. Like, no, it's not. I can tell you already it's
Well,
not.
that if they have to say that, it's not. But I'm just talking about there's some people
Right.
that actually go on and on.
Yes. And like,
It's like if you can't get it in, like enough where you don't have to hit more,
yeah.
then just
I
don't
was
even bother.
I watched Ocean's 11
Then you should have
the
done a
other day.
video.
Right. That quote of don't use 7 words when four will do. That's basically
Pretty much. Pretty
right.
much.
Don't use 7 words when four will do.
I had a
Yeah.
similar experience from a customer that was like that earlier today. Like they used like 10 words to say, give this to so-and-so.
Right.
To like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Right. You
Like they
could
went
have.
around the way. They
Yeah.
explained more than they over-explained.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
explained stuff that was totally unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like
Sometimes
you took the
people.
long way. You took the long way around.
Right.
You took the scenic route.
Yeah. Sometimes people feel the need to explain the entire backstory of something before they just ask you like a simple request. It's like you could have just started with that. I don't need the whole
Yeah. See,
backstory, but
I think the problem with Facebook, I know we're going off on a rabbit trail again,
yeah, I know. That's
is
how we
that
do.
some people do a post that should be like a blog, and they don't have a blog feature. It'd be nice if they did, because remember MySpace had a blog feature? It'd be
Mhm.
nice if somebody had a
And
feature like that, because that way,
yeah,
if you choose to go there and read this blog, it's different than it just coming across, you know what I'm saying? Just
yeah.
like trying to catch people's attention with it.
But they probably paid to promote it so that people would see it.
That's possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway, is
that's
right.
that's we do this all the time, folks. If you're a first time listener of this show, just go back and listen to a few episodes. You'll see what we're talking
Yes.
about. One thing
Yeah.
leads to another.
Squirrel should be the squirrel
Exactly. We
podcast.
could, we're we could put that in there.
Yeah.
Traveling with a squirrel. Well,
Yeah. Right. It's basically what it is. Uh, I just happened to notice this one about the Emporium, and I'm
notice this one. What
like
story?
it's half updated to it looks a lot more like the World of Disney store actually from what I've seen. The
Hmm.
Emporium changes. As long as they make it to where you can walk through there at the end of the day without a million people in there,
Well, that's not an objective because that's not. I mean, that's
you
not one.
can't.
That's not the reason you're supposed to be in there.
I know, but people just just hang out in the Emporium, and like so. Creations at Epcot is
Hmm.
much easier to walk through at the end
Oh,
of
it's
the
because
night.
it's massive though.
Yeah, but it's easy to the shelves aren't like I don't know 2 feet apart where you can't. Someone with a stroller is just standing there blocking the entire aisle.
It's kind of just like Epcot in and of itself. Like you have plenty of space to walk.
That's true. Yeah,
You know what I mean?
and
That's one of the
there's
things
a
they did.
ton of walking to do
Yeah, there's a ton
because
of
it's
walking to be
Epcot.
done, but they made it like, I don't know, what, like 4 lanes wide,
Right.
all around, like World Showcases, except for a couple of places where it bottlenecks somewhat. It's pretty wide. So,
Yeah, it's really just between Mexico and Norway where it bottlenecks a lot. It's the only
well, I would say right there
really
at the
bad spot.
entrance, really, to Mexico, right there on that side, it kind of squeezes
Yeah.
in right there because when they added the restaurant, right? So it got a little more claustrophobic somewhat in there.
Yes, it
And to think
definitely
there used
is.
to be double-decker buses that rode through there. They could never do that now.
Oh
Not without a
gosh,
few
yeah.
casualties, not without a
Right.
GTA experience.
Right. Yeah. Running over a few strollers,
Ding, 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 ding,
people
ding.
getting stuck underneath. Yeah. Hop-ons. You're gonna get hop-ons.
Hop-ons.
That would totally happen too if that still existed.
Oh, yeah. It'd be nice if they did.
I mean, did people hop on back in the day? They couldn't hop on while it was moving, right?
No, it had stops. I don't know. It had designated stops.
Right. I do remember seeing it, but
Do you remember when Barbie rode around, like paraded around World Showcase? That was
yeah.
kind of an
Didn't she
unusual.
in the convertible, right? Didn't she?
Yeah. It
Wasn't
was
it the
kind of an
pink convertible?
unusual partnership right there. It was
It
Barbie and
was
Disney.
back in the day. Yeah, indeed. Another segue.
Another segue. Speaking of Segway, they used to have those. No, they used to have those at
Yeah.
Epcot too.
Oh yeah,
They have
that's
one of
right.
those tours.
Back when segways were, you know, everyone thought that would be the
They
next
thought they were
thing.
going to be a big thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure they
didn't
made
really
plenty
pan
of money
out.
off of them. Okay, so I think last episode we talked about Guardians and how it had a good opening. We'll say of non-virtual queue, right? Didn't we mention that?
Yeah, it was fairly slow the first few days.
But then the weekend came.
Yeah, it
So that made a big difference. It had a much larger crowd. It had, of course, this is after over 1,000 days. I don't remember how many it was total now in virtual queue, the longest standing to
Yeah.
date.
1,005 days, I think.
Yeah, it was over 1,000 days. So over the course of the weekend,
Mm.
now this is according to Thrill Data. I guess this was at the peak. It posted a 3.5 hour wait time on that Saturday.
Yeah. There was also the poop issue that went on the internet.
See, I did that. Did we ever get confirmation that that was even true? That one
I
smelled.
mean,
I mean, we first saw
smelt
it from an
funny. Is that what you're saying?
unscrupulous source.
Yes. You're funny. Yes,
But
that's
then I
where
saw
it
the picture too,
broke.
and I'm like, I can't confirm based on this one photo that that's actual human fecal matter.
Wow. Well, there's a video. They posted a video as well. I think it was an Instagram video. People walking through the queue and like doing this because it was like, they were covering their noses and like it was really bad as they walked through it. I think it was real. I mean, this could happen anywhere. It could happen.
It could happen, but how does you get that much without someone noticing or pointing them out, or somebody actually like filming the act of, not just the aftermath? Do you know what I mean? That looks
Right.
like someone literally had to pull their pants down and blow out against the wall, the way that looked, if that was real.
I mean,
Are we sure it's not vomit?
it's not definitely not a lot.
Okay.
You can watch the video for yourself.
Oh.
Oh, here it is. What does that look like on the floor?
Hmm. There were people holding their noses for sure. Why is there such a very short video of the
Poop itself.
whatever on the side there? And why was it there long enough before it was cleaned up then, if that's the
You see
case?
like footprints in it too, so people like stepped in it without
That's what it
realizing
looks
where it was.
like.
Gross.
How do they
But
do
I
that and
mean,
not see? I don't know.
this could happen anywhere, though. I mean, you know,
It just, I don't know,
could
something
happen.
about it. It's apparently the people were not deterred enough to exit the line from the smell. I mean,
Right. I mean, if this was at Magic Kingdom, I'd say, oh, they ate at Tony's. But I think of where at Epcot this would be.
yeah, it's a
Uh,
pretty long walk from Mexico to Guardians. So
you mean if they just ate a bunch of like burritos or something, like
yeah,
beans
something
and
that was
flavor? I mean, it's not that far of a walk. It's not unheard of to have, maybe they ate at Sand and Hill. It's possible.
or maybe something at Flower and Garden, because they have food
Possibly.
now at Flower and Garden. Maybe somebody got it mistaken. They thought it was food and wine, and they ate one of the flowers. That was
Yeah.
didn't agree with him.
I mean, it could happen. If you're standing in line for 3.5 hours, when you gotta go, you gotta go. No, I don't know if this was related to the 3.5 hour wait, but
I don't know. I mean, I just question the legitimacy of this still. I mean, we've gotten one video, we have the one shot in the corner, we had people covering their noses. So, I mean,
well, apparently this happened regularly at Flight of Passage. This is why they ended up putting the bathroom in the queue. So not,
there was literally people taking dumps on a regular basis.
or like letting their kids go like poop in the corner, like when it was a
So we
dark
think this was
spot
probably
of
a
the queue.
kid.
I mean,
That
it's
looked like an awful lot of. That's the reason why I say that. It looks like
kind
it
of
looks,
like
that almost looks like it
a
was
lot.
smeared. That's the thing. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
If that's what
I don't
that
even
was,
want to try to imagine what happened. So that's cool.
that'll make sense to me.
People can be gross. Like it can happen.
Obviously,
The question though is, if this happened to you, did you just like keep going and ride the ride, and then it's like the ride vehicles are all like, you know what I mean? Where did this guy sit or person sit? I don't know.
good
Or did
point.
it exit the queue and like run? Because if this happened to you, I wouldn't stay, right?
If this happened to me, Like
Like, if you couldn't
if I
hold
had the urge, I would get out of line, if that's what you're saying, yes.
yes, I would be trying to get out of line and make it somewhere. I wouldn't risk this. Yeah. But,
I don't know.
yeah.
Something about that just doesn't smell right. But,
You're right. You're exactly right.
anyway,
Something's fishy about
something's
this.
fishy here.
There's
I don't know.
something rotten
I
in
couldn't tell if there
Denmark.
was fish involved, but
Yeah. Anyway.
anywho. So, you know, we got the important stuff out of the way there.
Right.
Anybody care about the Garden Rocks concert series?
I mean, we talked a little about this before.
Yeah, I think they finally filled it out though, because there were some dates that were missing, and I
Yeah.
can't remember which ones now.
Maybe. But yeah, I remember we talked about like plain white teas and 98 degrees and Sugar Ray, of course. And
I see 98 degrees. I see plain white tea. So, yep, you're right. Just take a stab and just guess of somebody that you think's on it that would normally be on it. And I'll tell you if they're there.
well, I know
Who's some
Sugar
more
Ray.
usuals?
Sugar Ray.
Sugar Ray. Yep, he's on there. Are you looking at the list currently?
No.
No, okay. I was gonna let you guess
Trying to think of who else has been
because they
there
have
a
a
lot.
tendency to get some of the same ones with a few new
I
ones.
feel like I remember Simple Plan being there before. But I
Simple
remember from
Plan.
last week
Yes,
we
they are.
talked about it.
Simple Plan is there as well. uh,
Trying to think. I know 98 degrees because I remember that from last week we talked about that. I don't know if they're new though. I feel like they've been
no,
there
I can tell you
before.
the ones that were added. They actually have them marked as new that they were added. Queensryche was added. That was the end of March. Do you even remember Queensryche?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think you would. They were famous
Don't.
for that song "Love Is on the Way."
Wasn't Hoobastank there last year, or was that the Food and Wine one?
There's no telling.
Of Eat to the Beat.
So let's see. Where's another one
Hmm.
marked new? Maverick City Music, whoever that is. I've never heard of them.
Rick Springfield's always there.
Rico
Okay.
Monaco Band, Icon Party Band. I don't even know any of these people. Sound Up, Glass Ceiling, the M80s. I think I've heard of the M80s.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Thinking
Foreigner's
where I know them.
Journey, Foreigner's Journey. Is that like a combination of Foreigner and Journey?
That's what I was wondering.
The Hooligans, Hayfire, Diane, or is it Dian Diaz? Dian Diaz, I think. Southbound, Latin Ambition. So it's not like a bunch of names that you've heard of.
Yeah.
I guess whenever I saw the ones marked new, as in like they've never played here before, like they're new to the
38
lineup.
special. Yeah.
John Cicada, he'd be an interesting one. Do you know John Cicada as well? No. Taylor
It's not
Dane.
ringing a bell.
You know, A Flock of Seagulls.
Mm-hmm. I don't usually go to any of the concerts, really, to be honest.
I hear you. There's a few ones that are interesting when they show up, though.
Yeah, if I'm walking by and they're playing, might
one I've
be out
seen,
for a minute.
one I've seen like video of that's actually quite entertaining anyway is when Joey Fatone and Friends, because he always has different acts. Yeah.
Right. That one turned out to be pretty good. Was that last year?
Yeah, it was pretty
It was.
entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
Just he has various different, friends. It's like it says, Joey Fatone and Friends.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, isn't Moana 2 supposed to be streaming soon?
Yeah, I think sometime later this month. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they were talking about the newly popular Moana 2 topiary.
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
did see something interesting about how Disney, and I don't see this listed here, but how Disney decided on Disney Plus to no longer do long form, as they call it, series animation.
Yeah.
So they were talking about doing one with Tiana. So basically, when they say long form, they mean this like 30 minutes to an hour like type episodes, right? Now they'll continue to do the short form, which is stuff like the shorts and things like they, have done on there before. Say, for example, Olaf Presents, which is, those are usually like 10 minutes or less most of the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or at least for 15 minutes or less, depending. They're going to do those type things because I think they've had more success with those type things, to be honest, as far as those go. But yeah, they've decided to go not do the. I guess they didn't have much success, as I say, for instance, the new DuckTales or stuff like that. I think most of the newer stuff they've tried has just not been what they had hoped.
Mm,
It's
yeah.
like that thing we were talking about not too long ago. What it's just the weirdest thing about people's attention spans. It's 10 seconds or 3 hours. I mean, it's nowhere in between.
Yeah, this is an interesting world we're in
Yeah,
where, the long form or very
there's
short
no in
bites.
between, right?
Yeah, right. A 20-minute sitcom is unwatchable now.
And if it comes to a series that is like about an hour episodes, they want them released all at the same time so I can watch them like and binge watch them basically.
Right.
So you basically
Right.
want hour episodes that you can watch 6 hours of.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
I yeah, I don't it's hard
like wh-
for me to find content that I'll watch anymore. Yeah.
like when Netflix has something a new show, they usually have what at least 6 episodes if not more at a time, right?
Yeah, they just dump all the episodes at once, which I don't love that,
Well, I know that there is an
honestly.
audience for it though, obviously.
People do love, yeah, the binge watch thing, but I don't have that kind of time, so
I have a tendency if I'm going to watch something like that, I have a tendency to go and watch it like after it's completed. Like, the series has concluded, like, it was ne like, I didn't
oh,
watch it while it
right,
was on,
right.
but after it's over, I'll go back and watch the whole thing, you
Like
know?
season 1, yeah, yeah.
Right,
Oh, this show is
right.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like, "Hey, this was good." I like the fact that don't have to wait a week to find out what happens next. So,
I suppose.
that sort of thing.
Yeah, a week
But
goes
there's
by
also
really
something to
fast.
be said for that. Like, for instance, I like the way to contrast that, I like the way they did, say, like, Mandalorian and even Andor, which speaking of,
Mhm.
Andor season 2 is coming up, April the 22nd, I think.
Yeah, I actually
I'm
liked that
actually
one.
I did, I really enjoyed that one because it focused on, like, a normal what shall we say, like, a story that's not attached to the usual Star Wars stuff in a way.
Right.
Does that make
Y
sense?
Yeah, and it
It was
wasn't
a good story.
right, it wasn't trying to invent something new or,
Right, right.
right, try to, like, answer questions about other,
They weren't
things.
trying to reinvent the wheel with
Right.
it.
It just put a interesting story inside of a Star Wars universe. That was basically
Yeah.
yeah, kept it its own thing versus I think all the others have tried to, like, complete some story or, like, and bring in characters just for the fun of it or whatever, which trying to shoehorn in stuff.
For me personally, I really enjoyed Rogue One.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a really good way of kind of like connecting the 2, the films, connecting the old with the new, so to speak,
Yeah.
right?
It does make you wonder why they didn't, continue that. I think Solo ruined that for those Star Wars films that weren't, like, canon or no, I guess they are canon, whatever. They aren't like the trilogy
Yeah.
films or whatever. But wouldn't it be cool to have, like, a Shadows of the Empire film, like the one
Yeah.
between
Like yeah, that fills in the gap, so to speak.
yeah,
Yeah.
that would be cool, but
Well, and see that Solo, you mentioned that. I remember when I was watching it, I found it entertaining, but it just didn't have that factor that made me want to go back and repeat watch it. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like I found it good, but I have not thought about it again until you just said it. You know what I mean? It's just not something I
yeah.
thought about.
I mean, it was a decent movie, but it wasn't I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
some of this ways that they came about as to how they got his name or whatever was kind of cheesy. I mean,
Right,
nobody wanted that explanation.
right.
It's like his
Or,
name was
like
Han Solo. Nobody gives a
yeah,
crap where it came from.
or how the Falcon, how he won it and, what it looked like before, and I don't
Well,
know,
the
it's like
the how he got the Falcon was talked about. It's almost like
yeah,
one of those things where they took one line from Empire
and
and
made a
overdid it, just
storyline about it.
just like just taking that one line about the Clone Wars and blowing it
Yeah,
up.
right, yeah,
You fought in the Clone
yeah,
Wars?
right.
And now all of a sudden we have the Clone War movie.
Oh,
So,
exactly, yeah. Although, I mean, as a kid growing up playing Shadows of the Empire in, you know, the 90s, I think that would
Mm,
make a really cool bridge movie like Rogue One was. And
mhm.
Mark Hamill has already signed away, like his likeness to be used as sort of like an AI of Luke at that age, which they've done a decent job with of recreating
Mhm.
on Mandalorian and
At
whatnot.
times.
So you could bring Luke into the story as he was part of it in the Shadows of the Empire. Han Solo and Leia probably, not as much, but you don't have to show them necessarily. But
Right.
I think it would be a cool story to have a new character, Dash Rendar or whatever, and you could have Chewie be a part of it. You could have Luke show up and be an interesting bridge to fill in some gaps. But anyway, you could have
Yeah.
Boba Fett as part of it. It'd be pretty cool.
Boba Fett.
Anyway,
Boba Fett.
no,
Where?
yeah, exactly.
I never knew for years that that's what he was saying.
Yeah,
Back
I
then, you
didn't
had
know.
to figure
Right.
out. You didn't
Yeah,
know his
right.
name was Boba Fett.
There was no subtitles on a VHS tape that you could
Yeah.
turn on. Yeah,
Someone figured it out. I was like, oh, his name is Boba Fett? And then all of a sudden,
right,
the legend grew.
right.
I
And
always
I'm
thought he
like,
was saying solar pack. That's what I thought
yeah,
he said.
right.
Yeah.
And the line was when he was shooting the tentacle was not, it's all right. I can see a lot better. It was,
Oh, was it?
trust me. I think it was trust me. It was like, it's all right.
The
Trust me.
original line?
I think the original line was
Yeah, but he
trust me.
did say I can see a lot better at some point in there because it was.
Yeah, the
It's all
special
right, I can see a lot
editions.
better.
Right. They threw that line in there. It's all right. I can see a lot better.
No, I remember all right, I can see a lot better being on the TV version.
Well, I mean, as
Are
soon
you
as they
saying the
did the
special
special
edition
edition,
made it
yeah,
trust me?
yeah. The original line, I believe, was all right. Trust me.
Yeah, but the original is the one that had that I can see a lot better in it.
No, the one now is I can see a lot better.
I'm
Anyway,
telling
we
you,
don't have to
if I
argue
were to
about
go play for you the recording I have of Return of the
it. Okay.
Jedi when it was on television many years ago,
All
he
right,
says
go
that.
go play it because it's not.
Well, I got
Go
to get a VCR first. I know it's on there.
prove me wrong. Just as soon as I buy a VK test, play
Exactly. So I'm going on Amazon right now and getting
VCR.
myself a VHS.
Right.
Speaking of that, this is again not on Disney topic, but um, Adam the Woo.
Yeah.
So I
What
guess
about?
that's sort of a Disney connection anyway. I saw when he went to, I think it was called the World's Greatest Fair or something like that in Orlando. But one of the
Oh,
things that
okay.
it has there is they have like a blockbuster like
Oh, like a.
experience is what they call it, the
Mm,
blockbuster experience
oh,
actually.
like what
And so
it
you can
was.
go in
That's
there
kind
like
of
you're
cool.
walking into a blockbuster and they have merchandise for sale. It even looks like the counter.
Back in the day.
They actually have videos in there
Wow.
on a shelf that you can purchase, I believe. I believe you bought some.
Do you have to pay
So
late fees or whatever?
they did have that on there. They had the Be Kind Rewind. Like you can buy shirts that says Be Kind Rewind on it.
It's
All that
awesome.
good stuff. I was like,
Gosh.
yeah, that was a different time period. We were like explaining that to our kids by the way when we
Yeah, I
saw that.
know. Yeah,
I was like, we
explaining
actually had
them.
to
Yeah, right.
rewind the tape before we brought it back.
Right. We had a special device that just rewound tapes. I remember that. We had a
Exactly.
tape rewinder.
Yeah.
You just stick it in there and it rewinds it.
Yep. Did it for you.
Golly.
And then if
That's
you watch
weird.
something too many times, it would wear out. It would
Yeah.
start having things like lines jumped on it or whatever.
Right. You have to stick in one of those VHS head cleaners.
Yeah. Or some
Tape
of the tapes would
cleaner
have the
thing.
little, like it would
Yeah, the
hit the
wavy.
bottom,
Well,
the
yeah,
wave
yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever at the bottom. Yeah.
Wow,
And
man.
the top. Anyway, showing our
Boy,
age. Um,
I have some hot takes if we want to talk about hot takes real quick. Or
well, real quick, they have the permit set for the installation of the Zootopia Better Together show that's replacing Animal
mm,
Kingdom. I haven't, did they officially announce
has
the
to be a bug.
closure? Did we say that? For its stuff to be a bug?
Yeah, it's like very soon, isn't it? Like March something.
Or it might have been early April. For some reason, April 7th stands out. Or maybe it was March 7th.
Yeah.
Maybe it's gone.
March 17th.
March 17th. I knew I had
Yeah.
something with 7 in it.
Yeah. March 17th. Very soon.
Yeah. Very, very soon. So, yeah.
Next week.
Yeah. They did a sneak peek about the Pirates Bar, but it really was not very sneaky.
Yeah.
We'll say.
I watched that video and I'm like, that's not a sneak
That's
peek. I
all.
mean, you can see what the construction walls look like from the inside. That's about it.
I was like, that was we're releasing something because we feel like we have to type deal.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
So
oh, you
anyway,
think Epic Universe is going to be epic? Wait for this bar to open like the end of the year.
right. All right. So, what do you have for us? Hot takes, you said.
Well, here's some hot takes, and I'm like, I am really upset by this one that it's that it wrote
Now,
this
that's
one.
been generated by AI, correct?
Yes, this was.
Okay.
This one says the monorail's overrated. I think I need to get a new AI.
Monorail being overrated.
And it says it's slow, unreliable, and needs a revamp.
Well, it does need a revamp just because it's been there for so long. Although they've been working on them individually one by one, and I feel like it's okay.
Yeah.
It's not the state of the art revolutionary that it was when we were younger. That's not how people view it now. Is probably so people just don't even think about it that much anymore as something special. I don't think,
but since we're talking about nostalgia, all this off and on during this episode, I mean, I think it is kind of cool to sit in the same monorails that I sat in 34, almost 40 years ago.
Yeah, these have
It is
actually
kinda
been
cool.
there a lot longer than its predecessor, right? It's outlived
Yes.
its predecessor by a
By a
long
lot.
shot.
By double almost at this point. But I do still think it's cool because you can tell it's the same train. Like, it's one of those things that
It
if
works.
they modernized it too much, I would be disappointed probably
Yeah.
because
See, one of my memories, like nostalgic memories from childhood, it's a cast member, like the previous model, a cast member having to manually
shut
go
the
by and
doors.
slam the doors. I have those memories.
The
It was just
douche,
part of
douche,
the
the
experience.
sound.
It was part of the experience, yeah. Hearing them
Yeah.
slam each door shut. It was just part of the experience.
There's something
Did
about
you remember hearing that?
I don't remember those.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
think you would.
I really only remember the
I
Mark
do.
6s.
Yeah. Now the interior of those things, they screamed like 70s, but
Yes, yeah. The brown
yeah.
interior. The green is what I remembered, from the monorail seats when they were like that bright green from the Mark
They were bright
6s.
green.
Well, it was like greenish, bluish green maybe.
Oh,
And
I
I
know
do
what you're talking about.
remember the
Okay, I had to
divider in
think
the
about it.
middle. There was actually a thing in the middle. There was like a little where now, it's for wheelchairs and strollers basically, but there used to be that little spot in the middle.
Oh yeah, there used to be a lean, like something you could lean on in the middle. But
Yeah.
prior to that, there were actually seats there.
Right. But then now it's all gone where make room for strollers and wheelchairs and stuff. But anyway, I don't know what are we talking about?
Well, you were doing a hot take on the monorail.
Oh yeah, and I was
Therefore, we're
also,
discussing the monorail.
the hum of the monorail is also a sound that I
it has
wanted
a sound to it.
Speaking of, did you see that video Disney posted about? It was like National Monorail Day this week or something.
I must have
And it
missed that
was
one.
like, I don't know. Please stand clear of the doors. They also released like a 2-hour long video of. I'm like, did Craig from the formerly of Diz produce this video? Because it was literally like a video of inside the monorail before the parks open. It's just do Epcot loop like 10 times. Nobody on it, nobody getting on or off. There was no spiel. It was just riding.
I wouldn't be
Epcot
shocked to find out
back and forth.
if he was involved.
Yeah, it was like 2 hours long too.
I'm not 100% sure exactly what his position is, but I'm pretty sure it has something to do with all of their media.
Right. Because they used to do those like park bench videos where it was just like, say, set up a camera and just let it run for like an hour in the park somewhere.
Well,
It
I
was
remember
many years
somebody
ago.
used to do those. Somebody did those a really long time ago, though.
Yeah. All right. Next hot take. Hollywood Studios is a half-day park.
Whatever. It takes you half a day to do the half day things that are there. It takes you
I
more than
mean,
half a day.
it depends. If you're really good at blowing through it, you can. But it kind of is a half-day park, honestly. Unless you want to,
If you're literally going to do everything that they have to offer, no, it's not.
well, right? Because there's shows, there's Fantasmic at the end of the day, decent restaurants. So yeah, you could easily spend a whole day there. But if you just want to do the quick, like,
I
you could
guess
do it in half a day.
if I were going to take two parks and choose to split them into a half day each, I probably would choose Studios and Animal Kingdom. But
Yeah, probably.
traditionally, like in the past, like way back in the day, though, it would usually be the only parks that I would split that way it would usually be Park A in the morning and then Magic Kingdom because it was later hours.
Yeah.
You could have taken any of them.
Yeah. You'd always go
Yeah,
back to Magic Kingdom because it was usually open till midnight or sometimes later.
at least 11.
Yeah. So it was like,
Whereas Animal Kingdom was closed at like 5 at that point in time,
mhm.
which it
When-
does now a lot, but
yeah. When we were young and had energy.
okay.
Now I'm like back to the hotel by 9.
Yeah, it does. Park hopping now for me, if I'm gonna truly enjoy the experience, I'm not gonna really hop too much. It's one of those things that was weird. It's like you wanna have the option, but do I really wanna pay like $500 more for the option? If you're doing
Right.
I say $500, I'm exaggerating only slightly, but I'm talking about over the
Yeah.
course of like 4 days.
Yeah. No, when you're trying to drag kids around and they're not gonna, young kids, if you're like teenager to young adult, you
Yeah.
can do that. But younger kids, and once you get older,
I've
by the
but
time you try to
yeah,
park up, you'll fall asleep on the bus and you'll be tired
right.
and like this, let's just go back to the room.
I would say park hopping is probably beneficial if you're trying to fit more in a shorter amount of time, perhaps,
Yeah.
but you're still not gonna do everything at each park in that
Yeah.
way.
You're never going to get to do everything anyway.
I've kind of become of the opinion that it's better to just do 1 park a day most of the time. It really is.
Yeah. And if you need the break, go back and then come back to that same park later. But
Right.
depending on which one, it might close pretty early. But
Mhm.
okay, Tron is underwhelming and too short. I don't think it's
I don't think it's
underwhelming at all.
underwhelming. Um,
It is too short.
the length of it, though, I mean, it just kind of is what it is. I mean, I don't
Someone says the queue is better than the ride. I don't believe them. The ride
no,
is
I
really
don't.
good. The ride's fantastic. It's just really short.
I've noticed there's a similarity between the Tron queue and the Guardians queue as far as once you get to the main room, so to speak. You know how they
Mm,
flow? It's like you walk inward to go outward to each side, right? Type deal.
yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. They're similar. The best quick service food is not Magic Kingdom. Well, yeah, obviously. Satuli is the best.
Yeah, if you're gonna pick just one out of all the parks, I would say Satuli is probably
Did
the
we?
best for a number of reasons. Menu options, and as I mentioned before, it's one of the few places you can get Mr. Pibb or
Right.
Pibb Extra.
And it's one of the few quick service restaurants where you're not forced to limit fountain drink. Like you can actually just
Really? I didn't
refill it.
realize
Yeah.
that.
It doesn't have the limits on it. Yeah. Which is
Huh.
weird. Did we talk about this on the show that Satuli, I think, is the one to me that for 8 years now has been consistently the best. It's never dropped off.
I would say that's a fair assessment.
I would have said that from day one that it's the best quick service. And
There's
then,
some others that are still pretty consistent, though. I would say Regal Eagle's
Mhm.
been consistent.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's consistently good. I mean, there's a few others you could put.
I would always pick Satuli though over Regal Eagle, but Regal Eagle's still been good.
Uh-huh.
Mickey pretzels are overrated.
I don't really care one way or the other. I mean, they're all right. They don't taste any better than any other pretzel I've had like that. So, I mean,
Yeah, true.
So I guess if that's the sense, they're overrated.
I was the fake cheese they give you with it reminds me of, like, the fake cheese I used to get when I was a kid on, like,
The fake
nachos.
cheese?
Yeah. Oh, if you read the ingredients, there's not a single one that's, like, food
Right.
with the cheese.
Yeah. See, when it comes to cheese, I'm a cheddar lover, so I like the real cheese. Like, I don't
Right.
like plastic cheese.
I would say go to Baseline to get a better pretzel, though, than the standard Mickey pretzel carts, but
Gotcha.
that would be my choice. Disney's more fun without kids. Probably, yeah. I mean, I've done a couple
It's
of
2
adult
different
trips.
experiences. It's not really comparable.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun
I've
with them, but it's probably more fun without them.
whatever you say.
Just saying.
I will say me personally, and my kids might even end up eventually saying the same thing. I enjoyed going as a kid, but I think my experiences once I was older and
Mm.
was able to make more choices for myself, were more enjoyable than being
Oh,
a kid.
yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
because especially my kids, I frequently make them sit at bar lounges and
Oh,
restaurants
yeah,
that
they're gonna,
they
like, hate you later. They're
yeah,
gonna be like, "We never got to do this with dad."
right. Well, thankfully, they made friends. Well, you know, we have people now that know us. At least that's
Oh,
they look
well,
forward
there's
to
that.
going to La Cava, put it
Yeah,
that way.
exactly. That's kind of
Yeah,
weird saying, but yes.
right. They do.
I understand what you mean.
Right. Not for the margaritas, but
Like,
yeah,
"Yeah, my kids really love going to the tequila cave." Oh,
yeah,
okay.
exactly. They do. Yeah, they love. They're on a first name basis with people there. Oh boy.
Alrighty.
Ride overlays are usually a bad idea. Uh,
It depends.
the example they gave is when you mentioned holiday. That was the
Oh, is that
example
what
they
they
gave.
mean by ride overlay?
Yeah, yeah, like that.
The downside to the ride overlays is you have
The
to
ride goes
take the
down.
original attraction down for too long a period of time. Yes.
Yeah, like
So
Haunted
there is
Mansion
that.
Disneyland sucks to have it down for like a month out
Yeah.
of the year or whatever.
And I
2
gotta
months.
be honest, I think the Haunted Mansion holiday thing is probably a little more played than it's kinda played out, I think. It's been there for how long now? The same
Many
overlay,
years, yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's people that look forward to it, but the weird thing is Nightmare is one of those movies that I was just shocked that it had the longevity as far as like a cult following that it did. I would have never thought it would have been this popular now. I mean,
Right.
for a movie that's 30 some odd years old now at this point.
Yeah. It's more popular now than it when it
Was when
first
it
came
first
out.
released, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. It's just like Hocus Pocus. I was just
Right.
like,
That
where
too.
did this cult following come from? I mean, I remember enjoying it when it first released, but
This is an interesting hot take. Disney should have built Beastly Kingdom instead of Pandora. I kind of agree with that.
it's hard to say because there was never really any solid this is what Beastly Kingdom is going to be, other than it was going to be about, you know,
Mythical creatures, whatever.
yes, mythical creatures. There was never anything beyond that that we got. We got nothing solid about what it would actually be, right? So it's kind of hard to compare that to something we know in Pandora, and Pandora is very immersive. I really love the surroundings there and the way they put everything. So
Yeah.
I can't base on what exists that I know I like versus what was this going to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it could have been turned into a Dylan's Land. Yeah.
Yeah. If you talk about potential, I had the potential to be good, but how can I say better than what I know? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, again, Flight Passage is still consistently top 5 favorite attractions,
It
but
I mean, something about that attraction whenever if people really get into it, right? I mean, if they
right.
and I'm not even a big Avatar fan by any means,
Right. That
but
was what I was about to say.
yeah, it can you don't have to be. It stirs you somewhat. Like there's something you
Mhm.
like feelings.
Right.
Like you actually feel attached to something there, I guess is what it is.
Yeah.
I can't explain it.
There's an emotional response it
Yeah,
elicits from you.
there you go.
Right. But that was my thing is Avatar as a franchise to me is not that exciting or great. I'm not that into it.
Mhm.
The land is beautiful, the rides are great. Well, one of them is great. The, but Beastly Kingdom, I think, could have been a really cool land. But anyway, that's just me. And that's Disney's not gonna
What
do
would you
that
put there?
anymore. In Beastly Kingdom, I
Hmm.
think a cool coaster would have been neat, but I think basically
Everybody always
Villain's
says
Land is
coasters.
gonna be what this is. Mythical creature stuff could be interesting.
Could be.
There could have I think there was, like, concept art of, like, a unicorn ride or something, and,
See,
stuff
I
like
don't
that.
see any of that being better than Pandora if you're talking about that. So,
Well, the original concept, but again, this could have turned into, like, what Villain's Land's going to be, I think. Could have been
well,
interesting.
we'll see. I hope Villain's Land's better than that concept, honestly. But
Yeah. Like the dragon or, Maleficent type thing could have been brought there, but
Beastly Kingdom was the typical what we got out of the 90s. Like they had a grand plan and then you get the actual, they
yeah,
get the reality. That
it
was a
was
lot, happened a
nothing.
lot. And yeah, they happened a lot in the 90s.
Did you write this one? The Skyliner is the best thing Disney's built in the last decade. I don't think that's true.
In the last decade, let's see, are we talking about from now? Because in the
As far
last
as
decade,
as far as transportation devices, sure.
well, it's like the only transportation that they've done
Right.
new and since then.
I do
But
love
I
the
mean,
Skyliner, don't get me wrong.
yeah, it's an existing concept. It's not like it's their idea, right?
Yeah.
They just
Guardians is
made
the
it
best
they just made
thing.
it their own.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Guardians is the best thing in the last decade?
Yeah. Guardians is the best thing. So we're talking 2015 and beyond, so that includes Pandora, but
Yeah, that's kinda hard to say because versus, if you're talking now here's a good argument. Which land turned out to be the better immersive land,
Ooh.
Pandora or Galaxy's Edge? You
Or
might
Toy
have some
Story Land?
division there.
I'd say Toy Story Land.
If you're talking about one that's probably kept to its immersive theme, I would say Pandora's probably done it better than Galaxy's Edge has.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I don't I like Galaxy's Edge. I probably need to see the one in Disneyland.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I reserved it.
I found myself, when I went, on that business trip or whatever, in the evening just kinda hanging out there. I really wasn't even doing very much of the rides. Well, there was only one ride at the time, but still,
Yeah.
it was just neat kinda hanging out there.
Yeah, there was one time Jason and I closed down Oga's Cantina, and that was fun to walk out and the park was empty when we left.
Mhm.
That was pretty fun. So yeah, it was neat, but yeah, as a land, there's not a ton there that I
I just feel
like.
like, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's cool, it needs to be there, but
Yeah, totally. And seeing the Falcon for the first time, the first dozen times was like the coolest
yeah,
thing.
it's still neat.
It
Let's
was,
be honest.
yeah, it's still very cool.
Yeah,
But it's not
because
like
I mean, you're
the
standing
same.
next to you're doing, like, the closest thing to really standing next to the like, if it were real.
Right. Yeah.
That's literally the all closest you're ever gonna get to something like that.
What I imagined as a
That's pretty
kid,
awesome.
which I
Right,
loved. Anyway.
exactly. Even writing it gets that feeling too.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, "Hey, it looks like this what I've seen in the movies."
You definitely wrote this this hot take.
Alright.
Disney needs to stop making every ride based on an IP. Give us more
Hey,
original rides like Expedition Everest.
did it say it that way?
Mhm. And Big
Exactly
Thunder.
that way.
It said,
It's almost
"And
like
Big
they
Thunder."
listened to this show because 'cause I've beat
Yeah,
that
it's
one to
always
death.
listed. Yes. Although, I mean, Tron is a good attraction, and, I think if it's
Uh,
something that's not
well,
overly
there's a lot of the
popular.
IP that's good attractions. I just get sick and tired of the idea of thinking that you have to make I mean, I won't
Yeah, yeah.
again, back in the day, the Imagineers were allowed to be Imagineers.
Yeah.
They were allowed to come up with things, not just for television and film, but for the theme parks as well.
Yeah. I guess the problem is Disney's acquired so much IP now that you have something for almost every theme you can come up with.
Yeah, but they're convinced that that's what
People wanna
attracts more
see.
people,
Yeah, yeah.
and it does
Well,
initially.
yeah. But it's gotta be good.
Yeah, some of these things are ideas that we've pitched or tossed around before, and obviously someone else was thinking of them too, like the door attraction from Monsters, Inc. I
Right,
thought about that a long time ago.
right,
Obviously, I wasn't the only one because they didn't
right.
get the idea from me.
No.
So,
Basically, since the movie came out, it's almost 25 years ago.
if they come out with a Aladdin coaster based on the Cave of Wonders,
Uh-huh. That they're tapping your phones.
they have to be. They have to
You
be
need a
like in my
royalty for
brain.
that.
Yes,
You need a
they have to
royalty.
be in my brain somewhere
Yeah, yeah.
because I said that at least 25 years ago.
Maybe more.
So, yeah, at least 25 years ago.
All
Anyway,
right. Put a bow on it.
so you can find us on Facebook, X, and Instagram. That's all at TWTM Podcast. We have a Spreadshirt store, which you can get your exclusive CWTM merchandise. That is shop.spreadshirt.com/TWTM Podcast. We have a YouTube channel, which you can get all of these episodes and occasionally some footage that we have from our trips. So where can you find that, Adam?
On our website, which is travelingwiththemouse.com. Our email address is podcast@travelingwiththemouse.com. And you can find links to more of that and more on our website.
So for Adam, my name is John. This has been Traveling with the Mouse, and we hope you will join us on our next trip. What did we talk about again?
I don't remember.